Good morning, everybody, and it is so nice to see all of you out of solitary confinement and back out among our beautiful community on such a very beautiful day. We appreciate you joining us here at the still pretty new Martindale Brightwood Library. We opened this building almost a year ago. And needless to say, we've not been able to take full advantage of it, but we are looking forward to that really changing in the months ahead. We have some wonderful friends who are going to share a few remarks with us today because we are here to celebrate looking forward, looking at what comes next. And all of that is outlined in our new strategic plan. And there are copies of this placed around the building for you to grab and take with you. It's also available on our website. And we would encourage you to take a look through it because we are making some commitments to the community about what we'll do with our libraries. They're an asset in our community for all of your neighborhoods, and every asset should be maximized. It should not keep its light under a basket. And when you have the wonderful resources that we have at the public library, we can make a difference. One of the things we've figured out, though, is we can't make that difference by ourselves. We have to work with so many partners. And some of those partners are here representing us today. I'm going to call out just a couple of quick people before we get on to our other speakers. One of the most important partners that are in place to support the library in everything we do is our Library Foundation. And Bethany Warner is here today from the Library Foundation team. They are amazing. You'll read about them in the strategic plan. They help us at every turn. And as many of you in this room know, we're supported by property tax dollars, but that can't cover everything. And our foundation helps to leverage the interest and the support and desire that is out there in the community to support library activities. So we're grateful to them. And they have also a new strategic plan that has been developed in parallel to ours, so we are quite in sync, which is a beautiful thing to be in sync with your most important partners. Some other folks who are in the audience, we're going to hear from our mayor and our library board president in a moment, but I also want to welcome Dr. Koala Matata, who is here. She's from the library board and she's with us today. We appreciate her being here. And we also have some other folks that I'm very grateful to be here. Our state senator, Jean Breaux, and our former state senator and former county auditor, Billy Breaux, is with us this morning, and we're grateful for her to be here too. So let me at this point welcome the mayor up here and give him a chance to talk a little bit about his thoughts about libraries and where we're headed. And if there ever is a partner, it's the city, and we're very grateful for that. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you very much. Well, good morning. I guess I tend to be a little long-winded because when I showed up this morning, Councillor Gray told me, hey, keep it short, I've got a tea time. I don't know what that said, more about him or more about me. You know, I'm so happy to be back in Martindale Brightwood and at this wonderful asset for the Martindale Brightwood community neighborhood. And it was with great joy that in the midst of the pandemic, in fact, I think it was also at a time when we were celebrating Juneteenth last year, I was able to attend the opening of this new facility, the Martindale Brightwood Library Branch. And it was a time that none of us could have imagined. We really didn't appreciate what we were in the middle of and what we would be going through. Do you remember the conversation that I recall coming out of Washington, D.C., that all the churches were going to be back open on Easter Sunday? That wasn't Easter Sunday 2021. It was Easter Sunday 2020. And here we are at the end of April of 2021, and we're still encouraging people to get their shots. But enough about the pandemic. it did require a large response from our city. And it required a response that focused on equity. But as Jackie mentioned, none of us can do this alone. We all have to work together. Many institutions have refocused and delivered their own responses to the challenges presented by the pandemic. Today, the Indianapolis Public Library is making its position clear. With a new strategic plan, they do commit to a more equitable service of our city, a service that accounts for inequities among race and class, a service that exploits the city's talent for partnership, a service that grows the library's primary function, the free and easy access of information, a service that promotes equal access to technology, a service that's dedicated to lifelong learning for all of our residents, and a service that is committed to widespread literacy. All of those items are noble and valuable and purposeful. 2020 exposed the ways our society is vulnerable. Now it is up to the institutions at the heart of our society to respond. Today, our city's libraries, the common house of knowledge, free for all residents, is indeed responding. My thanks to Jackie Nytes, as well as the Strategic Plan Steering Committee, and to the thousands of residents who responded to surveys as part of this process. Our Indy public libraries are, well, they're on a roll. We've had two new locations in the past 2 years, a new branch soon coming up for West Perry, and before long we'll be seeing new locations in both Glendale and Fort Benjamin Harrison. That's great news. In no small measure because the more locations that can put today's plan into action, the more dynamic, equitable, and thriving our city will be. And on behalf of that grateful city, let me say to the public library, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I like the thought that we're on a roll. That's good. The mayor called out our strategic planning process, which was very robust, and I'd like to give credit to Garrett Mason, who headed that team. Lots and lots of staff input. Lots and lots of community input, which is something that we really value so much. And I know sometimes people get tired of surveys, but good surveys help you really get at what matters to people. And I think what you'll see in this strategic plan is that we have identified the most fundamental needs that we have to help address so that people can prosper. Our public library has prospered in many instances because of the wonderful support from the city. And although we're not a city department, so the mayor often will get blamed for anything we do wrong, but doesn't always get credit for anything we do right. On the other hand, the City County Council does get to opine on what we do and has a lot to say about it. And we are very grateful for the leadership of City County Councilor Monroe Gray, who is the chair, I'm sorry, I have to take that off, who is the chair of the Municipal Corporations Committee, which is where the library does all of our reporting. So, Councilor Gray, would you like to share a few remarks with the folks?
Good morning, everyone. It's always good to be back in Brightwood. You know, you got to know from which you came before you can know where you're going. So, introducing the new plan, we can tell you about where we came from with the old plan. A few years ago, we developed a strategic plan. And out of that plan, we created 3 new libraries. We remodeled 3 existing libraries. So we know what we can do. Now we can go forward and make the new plan happen. I'm looking forward to the opening of the new libraries that we have in the new strategic plan. I think libraries are an essential part of our community. We need a place where kids can go and read. Reading is a very important aspect of our everyday life. If you can't read, what can you do? If you don't understand what you read, what can you do? So we need to be able to teach kids to read and also understand what it is that they read. So I'm a big supporter of the Indianapolis Public Library. Jack and I have worked together on several library issues, and they always seem to be positive. Some of them takes a little bit longer than others. We did the new library at 62nd and Michigan Road. Big success. More people than ever are using the library. We moved it from down at 25th and Martin Luther King to 62nd Street. Great location. People really enjoy the library. Then we did one in Pike Township. Came from another location. We found a new location for it. Great library. People are really enjoying it. Then we came to Brightwood. And it took us a little longer in Brightwood. We had some problems. Jackie called me all the time at night. Monroe, what we're going to do? And we finally got it done. It took a little bit longer, but look at the facility. It was worth the wait. And as you are proud of the Brightwood Library, I think that if you visit the others, you will see that they are equally as nice. I would like to give a special homage to the young architect who was an Afro-American who designed this building and did an excellent job. So once again, we at the library believe in inclusive. We try to make everyone a part of this growth, and we are truly on a growth movement. So once again, I'd just like to say thank you for coming out, and I hope that you will continue to support the Indianapolis Library. Thank you.
Thank you, Monroe. It was a journey to get this one done, but good things are worth the time it takes. And one of the things that we report regularly to the Municipal Corporations Committee on these days is our work with budgeting for equity. All of the city is committed to budgeting for equity. And this is reflected throughout our strategic plan. One of our very first strategic priorities in here is racial equity. And we are working very hard to educate our staff and to make sure that justice and fairness shows up in all of our decisions, all of our choices. And when you have an opportunity to read the strategic plan, you'll see that this is not just a philosophical discussion for us. This is really on the ground, making sure that we're employing the right kind of decision-making. I want to call out a staff member who's very critical to this, and Brightwood's a good place to think about this. Olenike Oliani, she is our collection development specialist for diversity. And you will see in this particular collection the evidence of what happens when you are intentional about building a collection in a community that reflects the interests, the personalities, the needs of a particular community. And when the residents of the Martindale-Brightwood area come to visit this library, especially with their children will find books that they can see themselves in. And we know how important that is. Olenike is doing this kind of work all across our city. Here, we want to be able to make sure that the picture books, that the rest of the collection reflects the interests of the community. When we're down in West Perry, we're trying to figure out how to find materials that reflect the interests and the history of the Burmese community. It's different all over the city because our city is so diverse. But that's the work we're doing. She is especially well suited for it because she's also a natural helper for the Immigrant Welcome Center. And the Immigrant Welcome Center is a good example of our desire in this strategic plan to focus on partnerships. As of next week, the Immigrant Welcome Center will now have its citywide headquarters at Central Library. And this will give us an opportunity to further our relationships and our partners with all of the diverse communities that are growing here in Indianapolis. So we're excited about that. Leadership is key to making all these things happen, and I would like to invite to the podium our Library Board President, Judge Jose Salinas. Judge Salinas.
I'll be brief, don't worry about that. This document, in many ways, is exactly what I look at when I sit down and talk to my kids. They're 13 and 15. I always ask them, where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? That's the same thing that we asked ourselves. And I would thank the committee who worked on this. I thank our board because it does come from the board. I can't tell you how diverse our board is. I'm very proud of that. It reflects our community. And this focus, the focus of this outlook, where we want to be in 5 years, is to reflect our community. Because when you walk in a library, you want to make sure that you can see yourself in that library. And maybe that always wasn't the case in this country or in the city, but it's going to be the case in 5 years. So I'm proud of the fact that we're looking at how we are doing things, how we've done things in the past, and making sure that when we build things, when we interact with our community, that it isn't just a one-way street. This is a product of research that was done by the committee, of input from the public, input from our partners, and the fact that we are now looking at where we stand as an organization in terms of racial equity is important. And I'm going to echo some of the sentiments of Monroe Gray and our mayor and Jackie. The fact that we are even looking at this is important. The fact that we know that we have to reflect our community. The fact that this building was designed by someone who represents our community is important. I want to be able to walk into every library and say that represents Marion County. I'm confident that we will be there eventually. It may be slow in some areas, it may be faster in other areas. This building needs to help the people in this community, from expanding the books that we have, expanding the services that we provide, and also expanding how we look and interact with our community. We do a lot of thinking about how we're going to go forward. That's what this book represents. But when I tell my kids, where do you see yourself in 5 years? If you don't have an answer, then I'm going to come back and ask you in a few weeks, and then I'll expect an answer then. This is the answer that we pose to ourselves. So where we're going to be in 5 years, I hope, and I have strong belief that it's going to be close to what this book represents. There's going to be revisions from time to time, but it is important for any organization to look at itself and ask itself where and how it's doing and how it's functioning in the community. When I came here for the opening last year, I emphasized how important libraries were to a community, either as a safe place, a place to talk to your neighbors, a place to talk about community events. That is what a library is. It's an anchor for that area. And I agree with the mayor. We have so many libraries in this city that are anchors for those communities. And I am proud to be on this board. I am proud to have a leader that understands where we need to be and where we need to go. Not to repeat myself, but I want to emphasize again, we may not have gotten it in the past in some areas, but we're getting it now. And we are moving forward with the understanding that we are part of this community and we're not going to neglect any part of our community. So on behalf of our board, on behalf of our staff, thank you so much. God bless you all. And in 5 years, we're going to, hopefully, I'll come back and I'll say, see, we did it. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Judge Salinas. And The judge is right. Our library board is really strong, and we're very grateful for their vision and for the tough questions they ask us, and they're keeping us all on our toes. Carrying out this plan and the many objectives that you see in here lies with everyone on the library staff, but it's especially the work of our public services people. And I want to call out John Helling, our Director of Public Services. John and his team are doing the day-to-day work on the ground, and they are also very involved in partnerships throughout the city. And we have two of our partners here today who want to just make a couple remarks, and we're really grateful to have them. Let's start with Nathalie Henderson, who is the IPS Chief Schools Officer. IPS is a big partner, absolutely, a partner we have wonderful potential with, and we're excited about how that's getting off the ground. Nathalie?
Good morning. On behalf of Superintendent Johnson and our Board of Commissioners, thank you for including us. We are so excited for this new strategic plan. The partnership between the Indianapolis Public Library and IPS Schools is so valuable, not just for our students and our staff, but the families that we serve. It gives our students unique and exciting possibilities in and outside of the classroom. And I want to share a couple examples of how our partnership has worked over the last year. Home learning. Last spring, when we had to shut down and your kiddos came home to learn, the library was very instrumental in having us access Access 360, and that meant we could provide free access to the online platform for all of our students while they are participating in home learning to still be able to meet some of their literacy development needs. We also have 6 schools in IPS that participate in the library shared system. So they have full library cards and they're able to access library branches outside of their neighborhoods and request books from some of our townships as well. And that has really increased their access for engaging reading material for the students, and teachers can do it as well. And this one, as an IPS preschool parent, I'm very supportive of our early childhood literacy. They've been very intentional about making sure that our pre-K programs and our services that can help parents have the opportunity to do literacy development. Our academic staff works very closely with the Indianapolis Public Library early literacy specialist, Shale Weidenbach, to make sure that we have those resources for our families. And we've also coordinated with our technology department and our academic services to make sure that we can share programming from the library and our newsletters to parents and our newsletters to staff members. And we always encourage our families to participate in the summer reading program with with the Indianapolis Public Library. So we are excited to be a partner. We look forward to many years of continued partnership and success. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson. All of those programs that she described are really robust, and we're so excited about them. We're real deep right now in working out a plan to make sure that every single student in IPS has a library card. And that is one of this year's objectives, and I'm quite sure with Dr. Henderson's help, we're going to be rolling those cards out yet this spring and summer, so that's on the way. We have one last speaker for you today, and it's another example of the opportunities that are out there. We may think of the Marion County Treasurer as the person who sends us our tax bill, I know. We're very grateful for the Marion County Treasurer because that's part of how we keep these wonderful facilities going. But it's really interesting to realize that there are partnerships all over the place that you can tap into. And it's been really delightful to find in the course of the strategic plan work how many of the things that we think are important, other folks in places you might not have been thinking about have also been mulling over and thinking about. And so we are excited about our future work with our Marion County Treasurer, Barbara Lawrence.
Good morning. It is indeed an honor to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to participate today. I'd like to start out with a big thank you to CEO Jackie Nytes, Judge Jose Salinas, the library board members, and the amazing staff at all of the library branches across the city who do everything day in and day out to make our library system open, accessible, diverse, and quite frankly, world-class. As the newly minted Marion County Treasurer, I've determined that I want to do more than send out property tax bills twice a year. I have sought to bring new initiatives to the Treasurer's office, including a curriculum for all things financial literacy, from home ownership, planning for retirement, and planning for college, to the basic financial life skills. This effort, begun in earnest and hopefully getting underway in August, will be a true community partnership with banks and financial institutions, community-based groups such as CDCs, and I'm proud to say the Marion County Public Library. We are especially excited because this initiative is consistent and part of the library's recently completed strategic plan to bring programming, specifically financial literacy, to their branches. With their convenient locations, collections, willingness to bring relevant materials, and ability to market the programs, we look forward to working with the library as we continue to develop and schedule these programs. These buildings are more than just brick and mortar. The library branches, in fact, breathe life into our neighborhoods and communities. They are a hub, an activity center, and a resource for our residents, and, as it turns out, the Marion County Treasurer's Office. This strategic plan capitalizes on their deep roots in the community and the library's commitment to diversity, social equity, and serving our community. We look forward to working with the library on this continued effort. And again, thank you for the opportunity to be here today.
I really felt when Barbara told me about her plans for financial literacy that the phrase "great minds think alike" really does apply. We have so much good work to do together. Well, thank you all for being here. I hope that the next time we have a wonderful event to celebrate for the library, we will not be under any kind of an occupancy quota. We will not have to be counting people at the doors forever. But for today, we were able to be safe and healthy and socially distanced with our masks on, and at the same time, talk about the joyful opportunities that we have going forward and the work that we are committing to the community that we'll do in this new strategic plan. So thank you all for being with us. Enjoy this beautiful day, and please use your public libraries.